a lot of folks that are in our comments here, they really miss water polo. They just miss getting a chance to play, and it's some adversity, and not being able to play and get in the pool. You've had those moments where things didn't go your way in the pool. I'm just curious how you handle adversity in this game of water polo.
Right now, for sure, this is probably the longest I've been out of the pool in over 20 years. So I understand that, everyone's biting at the bit to try and get back in. And I think one of the biggest things to do right now is just to stay positive and stay active. One of the things that I just talked to our team about is creating a schedule. And just because you're at home, create a schedule, get up in the morning, do your routine, create a workout schedule. It keeps the body and mind healthy. And I think that's been tremendous for me and my kids here as well. We have PE every day here from 4 to 5. I do PE in our front driveway and have a bike obstacle course and adding all sorts of different sports. And, they're loving it and just making the best of the situation. And we will be back in the pool. And the best thing is just to try and stay active as possible. It's going to keep your body and mind healthy. Obviously, those that are fortunate enough to have access to a pool, definitely try and get into it if it's in your backyard. There's been some great things on social media regarding at-home workouts. Tony Azevedo, Maggie Stephens are doing great things. USA Water Polo, you guys are doing great things. You just partnered with them as well, I saw. I think it's awesome to see the water polo community come together during these times and fight the adversity and keeping kids active in sport.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. We have the USA Water Polo at-home challenge going on this week that Maggie and Tony demonstrated, and everyone can give that a try. We've shared that on social media accounts. We've got more at-home challenges coming next week as well. Everyone we've talked to this week, last week, the time away has reminded them how much they love water polo. I'm thinking about times in your career, and for those that don't know, we've known each other a long time, so I just take it for granted people know your resume. But we're talking with a 3-time Olympian. Merrill was the goalie on the silver medal winning team in 2008. We'll talk about that momentarily. Coaches at Pepperdine now. But those moments when you didn't get what you wanted, right? If you think back to your first try at the Olympics, or if you're battling injuries, how much did that increase your love for water polo when you finally could get back?
Well, tremendously. For those of you who don't know, I was cut from the 2004 Olympic team and actually thought my goal and dreams of being an Olympian were over, and stepped away from the sport for 2 years. So was in the mortgage industry. And when I got that call from Coach Terry Schroeder, who was the coach of the U.S. team at the time, that he wanted me to come back, I left a very lucrative career to come back to the sport I love and, try and accomplish my goals and dreams of being an Olympian and representing Team USA. And to this day, it's one of the best decisions of my life because, you don't know what path you're going to take, but I'm very happy that I got the chance to represent Team USA and train for that starting position in 2008 and got it. And, it's a sport. It's a unique sport for all of you out there. You know how tight-knit the family unit is of water polo, and that's one thing I love about it. And so I definitely think people are realizing how much they miss the sport and how much it does for you, not only physically but mentally. I always think of it when I was in the water, it was kind of, it was hard and draining, but it was kind of my release to be away from everything, all the everyday stresses of life. And I think people are realizing that now.
Yeah, a lot of folks that were hating their 5 a.m. practices would love one tomorrow. So you're exactly right. We're talking with Merrill Moses. If you have questions about obviously goalkeeping is his area, but knows all about water polo, you can ask those. One question that we got in a couple of other videos this week, and we really weren't talking with someone qualified to answer it, was when you're taking a 5-meter shot, and you'll look at it from the goalie perspective. So I guess to give away maybe one of your quote unquote weaknesses, but what's a good way to be successful when taking a 5-meter?
Well, I can tell you from the goalie perspective and the field player perspective, because I coach every position, and but definitely seen more than taken. No, I'm not a bad Five Alives guy. So, but I think from a field player's perspective, is not just knowing where you're going to shoot right from the beginning. The biggest thing is, basically, I want you to watch the goalie, read the goalie, and because if you go, oh, I'm going to shoot low right, and you're shooting low right, and then the goalie goes there, you're probably going to get stuffed. I am a big percentage guy, and I know the majority of field players skip the ball, and because it's a safer shot for sure. I'd say the percentages for a right-hander is, I'd say 80% they're going to the goalie's low right. So again, it's not to be one of those percentages and actually read the situation. Tony Azevedo is one of the hardest people to read because he would just get up slow, watch the goalie, and then just take what was given to him. One of the hardest shots to block for a 5-meter is the donut, but obviously that's the most riskiest shot too, because the bar.
Excellent stuff. We'll look at some more questions here in a moment. For those that are goalies or aspiring to get better at being goalies, I know you talk with them a lot. What's your top 3 tips or things that anyone can work at to just improve their skills?
Top 3 things for a goalie and field player. Number 1 is leg strength.
Yeah.
Down. We play a sport that is very unforgiving, and we're not touching the bottom. So leg strength, being a student of the game, like I said, there's lots of tendencies. Watch video if you have access to it, because a lot of people tend to do things that they're comfortable with, and I'm a big percentage guy. And also just being in the best possible condition you can be in, because again, it's an unforgiving sport that takes a lot of energy.
Getting some questions here. Mark asked a good one. What player shooter in practice made you a better goalie? Is there a top 3 in your mind of people that you had to practice with that improved your skills?
Number 1, team captain Tony Azevedo. The best part about him is he was always talking to me about things, tell me what he saw that I was doing, and I would have that open line of communication with him as well. I can go to all the different players that I've played with for sure. They have different fakes and so forth. So, I think a current player on the team, Alex Bowen, has a pretty nasty release in Hezzy, and he's from the 4-5 side. And then as a lefty, playing with Peter Viralis, that was one of my weaknesses, is the lefties. And so I would always talk to him, a different release point. And he was actually a really great lobber too, which was one of my weaknesses. If you guys watch any of the Olympic Games, he scored some big lobs in Olympic Games as one of our main lefties.
Benjamin asked the question, outside of Team USA, best international shooter that you ever faced?
There's a lot. Again, I'd say one of my nemesis is the lefty. So Gurgly Kish from Hungary was, pretty great shooter. And if you hear anything in the background, I got kids in the house.
Sure.
And then, Thomas Koshosh was a pretty great shooter as well. So those are 2 of my hardest people to go against. And then also Filipovic was another lefty that is just pretty hard to read.
We're talking with Merrill Moses, 3-time U.S. Olympian for Team USA, silver medalist. Taking your questions here about more than just goalkeeping, all things water polo. So feel free to add them in the comments. Now that we've gotten on shooting topics, people are curious about, and I'll add to this, best backhanded shot, or shot taker, and then also the challenges of stopping that shot.
I'll tell you this. When I was playing in the Olympic Games, I never saw an outside helicopter backhand. That didn't really exist, and now that is actually a useful shot. But all the centers internationally have some pretty good backhands, and ultimately one of those shots that you have to, again, just take your part of the cage where it's over your head and you're a little more to the right, and then hope that your defender can hit the elbow if needed so they can't go cross cage. So every center in the international game had a pretty nasty shot. Again, I told you lefties, Radu from Romania was a hard.
Sure.
He, you never knew if he was going to roll out or backhand. He had a lot of tricks up his sleeve for sure as a center.
I think you touched on this before, but now the question has come in: the hardest shot for you to stop. You mentioned the lobs. Was that, in just natural play? Not so much penalties, but rather 6-on-5 or counterattack. Was the lob the toughest one for you?
I played farther out, so yeah, I was trying to cut out the angles. So again, internationally, I'd say you'd see maximum 2 lobs a game.
Sure.
Just where I was taking a little more risk. So yeah, definitely one of the harder shots because I was trying to play and cut off the angle. But I'd say, hands down, the hardest shot is just a great upper corner without a skip shot. That's what you're going to see more of. And if someone can get that upper corner, it's pretty deadly.
Clearly, we've got a couple of your Pepperdine guys here that have entered the chat here, so we have to show the Waves some love. But just for you, what's it been like to be back at your alma mater and be coaching? And the team had a very good season last year.
It's something that I love. Feel blessed that Terry Schroeder, after the 2012 Olympics, asked me to be the interim head coach. Then I was his assistant coach, and now I'm the associate head coach with him. Been there since 2012. Did not think that was the path I was going to go on. Was actually studying to be a chiropractor and go to chiropractic school. And he gave me that phone call, and didn't take much convincing. Let's put it that way. Talked to my wife and told her this is something I'd love to do. Give back to the program that gave me so much and molded me into the man that I am today. And loving every minute of it. My team is like my family. Yeah, we've definitely been building since I've been there. And I think it's shown all the hard work, and we made it to NC2As. We didn't get our ultimate goal of bringing back an NC2A championship. That's our ultimate goal. And, we've done it only once in Pepperdine history in '97 when I was a player. But I think people see that we're going to be knocking on the door, and we will be bringing one home shortly.
Excellent stuff. Pepperdine and all the college teams excited to get back in the pool when the time is right. Some good questions coming in here now. We're talking with Merrill Moses. This one I like from CDJ. Biggest frustration as a player versus biggest frustration as a coach?
Well, biggest frustration as a coach is you wish you could get in and change the game.
Sure.
Or you can't change it as a player, but you can help your players game plan to change things as it comes. Biggest frustration as a player is when you do all that studying and you see that someone's going to, do the tendency that you think is going to happen, especially as a goalie. I know what someone likes to shoot and they still beat you. That's very frustrating because you've done your homework. But it's a game. You're going to get beat, and you just got to learn from it. And as a coach, the only thing is I've learned, it's fine that I can't be in there and change it. My goal is to make sure my guys are as prepared as possible for anything that's going to come at them. And as long as you prepare as well as you possibly can as a player and a coach, and that you've done your best, things are going to happen. You're going to fail, and you got to learn from it, and you're going to have successes as well.
Maggie asks, how do you read a goalie and know what to do on a counterattack?
Well, every goalie has different styles, so it's hard to read a goalie. Some goalies like to bait, some goalies stay straight up. So I think, again, if you have access to watching video, great. If, I know some people don't have access to videos. And so if you're watching a goalie, I would just say one of the things I've learned from Tony is, watching him shoot is he's not always shooting at the same spot. He's kind of playing a game with the goalie. He'll shoot, low to the goalie's left 2 times. The goalie thinks it's coming there, and then he leans left and shoots right. So I think you just kind of have to be a step ahead of the goalie. And then as far as a counterattack, there's lots of different counterattack situations. my biggest thing is if you're on the counterattack, definitely make your decision on what you're going to do before you get too close to the goalie, because the goalie might come out and steal the ball, especially if it's one on nobody. And again, the faster you can go from the horizontal to vertical when you're getting ready to score is going to benefit you greatly.
You were talking about in these tough times keeping a schedule. You've got the gym class going on in your driveway. We've gotten a lot of people asking. They don't have access to a pool. They are pretty much stuck at or around their house, but they want to stay in shape. Any thoughts on what they can do to keep working on their fitness while they're kind of homebound?
Unfortunately, I don't have a pool, but I'm doing PE with my kids for an hour, and then I'll work out after that. I got Adriana here. So you want to say hi? She was like, yeah, I got PE for an hour. But I think the biggest thing is there's a lot of people out there that are trying to help what's going on. So you have the, body weight workouts. If you have different tools, like it's so funny, I found some bands that I had. Obviously, I have tons of stuff at Pepperdine that I can't get to. So try and utilize whatever you have. I've seen Olympians utilizing a broom at home to work out and to do twists. So if you're stuck on what to do, the one thing we do have is social media and the internet search, because there's a lot of people trying to put stuff out there to help keep you active. And what I would say is schedule, minimum an hour a day to just do some sort of activity where you're working out and staying fit, and you're going to feel better.
Assuming you had ideal conditions, Benjamin asks, what are some good dryland workouts for goalies?
Good dryland workouts, Ashley Johnson's put some great stuff out there as well. But one of the things I love, if you have a partner, obviously, is the tennis ball drill, where they're throwing tennis balls at you. If you have ideal conditions, like you have all this stuff where you're facing the person throwing the ball at you and then facing the wall. This is something we do in college as well. Obviously, what you can do is if you have a band around your waist and you're mimicking like lunging and it's pulling you back, where you're, using your reflexes as well. So there definitely some stuff out there for goalies as well. But if you don't have any of this stuff, which a lot of people don't, I would just say try and stay as fit as possible. Do body squats, try and get your legs and core as strong as possible for when you're able to get back in the water.
Logan asks, what's the best way a center defender can help the goalie?
I always considered when I was playing, my defenders ended up being my best friends on the team because we're communicating. So I think the best way a defender can help the goalie is not just during the game, but in practice. You guys need to communicate on the tendencies that you like. For me, when I'm playing, I'm always telling the 2-meter defender where the ball is. My 2-meter defenders would tell me, okay, I need a drop right now. So that's my biggest thing, is when people are just quiet, our game moves so fast that it's hard to read minds. So try and create that relationship so you guys can know what you guys are comfortable with in practice, so it correlates to when you're in a game. So you're not just trying, if you're just talking during a game, it's not going to work. So you guys got to work together in practice to perfect it.
Talking here with Merrill Moses, 3-time Olympian, 08 silver medalist for Team USA, and lots of good questions coming in now as we get going here. Trace asks, how do you improve your hand-eye coordination?
One of the biggest things, tennis ball drill. I've known some coaches that have even had different color tennis balls. So when it bounces off the wall and you're looking at the wall, you have to say the color and block it. I think that's the best way for a goalie, because it's a smaller ball, faster. And then, if you don't have that, just the old game where one person's on bottom, one person's on top, and you're trying to slap their hand. We've done that with our team. It's kind of fun as well. We've done where you have one hand behind your back and the right hand's up, and you're trying to tap people's shoulders to try and get your hands quicker. And you're kind of dancing around with your partner. So those are some fun drills that'll help your hand-eye coordination.
some folks have asked about some of your greatest moments, and I think it's going to end up back at the 2008 Olympics. But I was curious along those lines. First, I guess let's just answer that question. When you think back on your greatest memory or moment in water polo, is it '08? What comes to mind?
Of course, 2008. For many reasons, that was my first Olympics. So walking through opening ceremonies and seeing the torch lit, I always say it kind of lit a fire in me because so much hard work paid off. And, that's when I realized I'm representing Team USA in the Olympic Games. We were ranked 9th going into the games, ended up shocking the world. One of my most memorable games, I was talking to Steve Carrera on Off the Deck, and that'll be coming out in the next couple weeks as well, is the Serbia game, the semifinals, to get to the gold medal match. I'd say on paper they were the favorite. They were the best individual team, but us beating them 10-5 to get to the gold medal match, and we'd never beaten them in the whole time I played for Team USA. That was something that was pretty memorable. I say the ball was like a beach ball that day, and everyone was on fire. Unfortunately, we didn't finish the job. We ended up winning the silver, not the gold, but we lost to a great team, Hungary, that won 3 gold medals in a row, and we gave it our best for sure. So I now know how special winning that silver was after I've had very different Olympic experiences in my 3 Olympics. And, it's really special when you always are in the hunt for the medal compared to, playing in the 5th through 8th bracket, and in the last Olympics, unfortunately, not even playing the second week.
You talked about the idea of the ball being as big as a beach ball, right? And thinking back to that span of the '08 Olympics, and not saying this just because you're here, but I think everyone agrees you played out of your mind during that time in Beijing. Probably the best 2 weeks of water polo I think you played in your life, right? That's probably a fair statement. Where did that confidence come from, and how did it build game by game as you kept picking up big victories?
Yeah, for sure. Was the best 2 weeks that I played and Team USA played since the 80s, for sure, since they were back on the podium. And I think that's one of the biggest things is our motto was to get back to the podium. And so we set obtainable goals, and we were a tight-knit group. We were family for sure. And when things started going poorly in a game, we knew that we could rely on our teammates to pick us up. So we weren't just a team of 1 or 2 superstars. We were just a good unit that was working together. And I think that's where the confidence built, because I don't think any of us had an amazing game every game. If someone was off, then there was 3 other guys to pick us up. And once we saw the chemistry that we built for so long in the pool, it just kept building game by game. And these weren't blowouts by no means. They were 1-goal games. The only blowout was that Serbia game in the semifinals, where I think that was one of the games where everyone was on. Wish that was the case in the gold medal game for sure. I'll be the first to admit I had an average game in the gold medal game. But every game prior to that, I was building and getting more and more on fire. And I think, that's something that the young viewers can learn is we play the ultimate team sport. And if you're playing a team that has a bunch of individuals that are very talented but don't play as a team, the best team is always going to beat them. And we're living proof of that for sure.
Mark asks, with the new rules where goalies can be involved on the offensive end, would you want to be the shooter, or would you want to be more of a decoy in those situations?
For sure, more of a decoy. I'll give props to one of my best friends who is one of the best shooters as a goalie. Janai Kerr, definitely one of the shooters. But I'm not known for my arm strength or my passing, to be honest. That's something I had to work on, is passing and lobs. So would I rip it if up to me? And I would go for it.
Sure. Yeah.
Coach would be like, all right, Merrill, this is you. You're going to shoot it. But I would do anything for the team.
Mia asks, and this is the news from yesterday that I'm sure you're well aware of, with the Olympics being postponed until next summer. As you think about that, as someone who's gone through what these athletes are going through right now, what comes to mind at the idea of having this big dream put on hold for a year?
You know, I think it's tough for the Olympians because they had a goal and a mindset and a time frame, but this is something that's bigger than sports, and I think the health and safety of everyone is the most important right now. And you know, I think some people have said it pretty right on. Is being an Olympian is never easy, and you train for all sorts of different things to come your way. And I think our Olympians are going to persevere through this. And I think that we're going to see some great things in 2021 at the Olympics because it's going to mean that much more to the athletes. But I feel for them because, you know, I know how it is when you have a goal and a mindset of, you know, they're so close right now. But again, I know all Olympians understand that this was the right decision. And also, not only for the health and safety purposes, but taking a month off of training, it sets you back so much. And that's if it's just a month, we don't know. So I think it was the right move for that aspect as well. So it's just a level playing field for everyone because, you know, the Olympics is all about fairness and a level playing field as well. So
Talking with Merrill Moses here, just a couple of more questions. One of them just popped up. When will the Merrill Moses retirement game be? Well, we need more games on the schedule, but we know that's coming soon. We're bummed that it didn't happen last weekend, but excited to get back on that on the schedule and recognize you back up at Pepperdine. Another question that came through was about injuries. You know, if you think back to college, your national team pro career, did you ever have a serious injury, and how'd you get over that?
Luckily, I didn't have anything too serious. I wanted to play football when I was growing up. My dad's an orthopedic surgeon, so he was very happy when I decided to play water polo. But I'd say the most serious injury I had, I pulled both my groins in college. That was hard because your legs are your motors. But, you know, I had great trainers that got me through it. And then when I was playing professionally in Italy, I broke my thumb on a 6-on-5 block. The guy got up so big and went to slam it down, and I went to block it, and he slammed the ball down on my finger. But I had a splint on it, and I played the next week. So, you know, as a goalie, it was my right thumb, so it was hard to pass. But luckily, it didn't hurt to block. So, I'm
okay.
With injuries.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Not, you know, and I guess goalie is one of those positions. It's not impossible to get injured, but there is less physical play, so you can maybe get out of it a little bit more unscathed.
Yeah. Well, one other thing I forgot, I did have a scary incident. If you look all the way back in my Instagram feed in the beginning, I think 3 months before the Olympics, Jeff Powers was on a counterattack drill, and if you know Jeff, he throws the ball extremely hard, and threw the ball and ended up having his finger follow through and go into my eye. And luckily, I wasn't damaged, but had to take some time off, had a concussion. But definitely recovered fully.
And then just last question here, and you just touched on it a bit about, you know, having that extra year to get ready for the Olympics. And it's been kind of a theme this week about dealing with adversity. But as you think about athletes that have to now just go back to the grind for 12 more months, is it as simple as just going back to practice? Do you have to kind of reset your mind a bit to kind of get through those next 12 months? How would you approach it if you were on the team right now?
I would approach it as I have 12 months to get better. I think people are going to get stronger. The younger players are going to have a year of more games and maturity. I think as a coach, they're looking at that way as well. No one's practicing right now when everyone's allowed to practice. You have 12 months to get stronger, faster, and game plan even better. There's going to be some tournaments for sure. So people are going to have more game experience. So, I think you got to look at it as a positive light. I think it would have been incredibly hard for these athletes whenever they were allowed back in the water to have such a short time to get physically, mentally ready for the game. So again, I think it was the right decision on so many levels.
Excellent stuff, Merrill. Always good to catch up with you. Appreciate taking some time out of the day to join us, and looking forward to honoring you and your career sometime soon at the pool.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure the retirement game for whoever said, I'm sure it's when another team comes back out here, hopefully in 2021. But I'll be ready because I was training for it to get a couple blocks and I'm looking forward to watching the team. Coach Dejan Udovic is doing a great job, and we have an amazing team, and I think they're going to do great things.
Excellent stuff, Merrill. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Greg.